We are live.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yay. Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
to season 5, episode 1 of Livelunch. We started a new season really quickly because we had a shorter teaching series at the start of the new year called Hearing God, and we're now in a new teaching series called Paradox. Though we're thinking maybe we should change the name to Stereotype.
Stereotype, yeah, that's a good name. Yeah.
New literally all
Except
the,
you would need to be female
all the
for that to
humor.
be
So
stereotype.
when Megan gets back, she can.
Megan gets back, she can sit on the pink
We're
side.
still Megan without you. Look at what's happening. We've gone pink and
We
blue.
reverted to
Literally all the humor
Barbie and
around
Action Man.
Pink around the pink and blue has
There
been.
you go.
I don't know whether we can say that.
That's it. That's as deep as we go in our complementarianism. We have Barbie and Action Doll, Barbie and Action Man.
Yeah. So this is us saying we are complementarian.
Yeah.
Got a pink and blue.
We're not
We don't have
being
just a blue or
serious.
just a pink
That is
wall.
not serious.
A
That is
pink
not a serious
and blue
point.
wall.
Don't get confused.
You know how you always talk to me about, or you always tell me about food and. If you're on Instagram, this is the third time this is happening.
Yeah.
How you're watching a diet, not wanting to eat too much carbs. So I didn't order any rice or noodles with our pad thai. I just got meat,
Just meat.
and vegetables and sauce.
So we've got the ultimate Atkins lunch.
Who? It's
No
probably
carbs.
on me, right?
I've got nuts in here.
I just
are they
assumed
carbs?
that when you order pad thai, it comes with rice or noodles. This
Oh.
is just literally sauce and meat, and there's no.
I've got cashews. That's carb, isn't it? Is
It's
it?
very tasty.
Right, yeah. Oh, and mushrooms, are they carbs? I don't know. But it's food. It's edible.
But this is your first appearance on Livelunch this year. We haven't seen a drop in our viewers, so that's great. All 5 have stuck around.
Hey!
Thank you.
Well done.
What have you been up to this year? Why have you not been on Livelunch? Your flock are expecting to be fed, and you have not been around.
I've been all over the world seeking this hat. See, this isn't my hat. This is Yohaan's hat. We swapped just now. You may have noticed, because I want this hat. It's my ambition. It is a big part of my inner craving. There's a yearning deep within to have this very hat. But Yohaan's got it, so I keep borrowing it, and then he keeps taking it back.
But even worse, my wife has promised to make you one.
She
and
has.
She hasn't delivered.
She's made that
so
promise
now
to
we've
me.
gone live
Yeah.
to the world, saying, "We're still waiting, Amy."
Yeah, let's
Joel's
hold her to
still
ransom.
waiting. Joel's still waiting.
Let's do that. That's sort of public manipulation. Because, you're toying with my emotions, Amy. When you say that you're going to get me this hat or make me this hat, and then it doesn't happen, you need to know that's leaving a huge hole in my life. It's a big deal, and it could turn sour. It could turn pretty toxic. That sense of dissatisfaction. I could lash out any moment on air
with her husband.
with your husband. I could take him away.
Yeah.
I've got a fork here.
People who have,
Could turn nasty.
People who've never met my wife is like, what are these guys talking about? Why do they want Yohaan's wife to make Joel a hat? Is this some sweat factory that Yohaan runs somewhere?
Yeah, she does make the exceedingly good hats, and it's unique. I mean, it's not just it's cooler than it looks, which is usually the other way around with hats, isn't it? It's just the texture, everything about the wool. I think this is from goats that particularly kind of.
Somebody said it makes your beard look more orange.
It brings out the texture of my pigments. Everything about this hat is right, and although actually the one I asked Amy to do one for me in a blue.
Yeah.
What kind of blue was it?
I think you chose navy blue, but
Was
she
it
said
navy blue?
She said the color was much richer than what it looked like on the picture.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, even rich. Oh well, you know, I'm just that just makes the sense of expectation
It
even
took
grow.
me 4 years of constantly
To grow this
badgering
hat.
Amy to get this hat.
Oh, okay.
You've only had like 4 weeks.
Oh boy.
So
No, it's been longer than that, but that's fine. No, there's no more pressure on Amy. Amy, we love you. We love you, hat or not. Just if you're not going to get it for me, I need to get one from somewhere else. So let me know. But that's cool.
5 minutes into Livelunch, people are tuning in, tuning out. I don't know what's going on. Let's get into the preach.
Isn't this why they tune in?
To hear you talk about hats.
I've been. You asked me what I've been doing. I've been in various places.
You've been in various places. You've done youth culture, which was at the O2 Indigo. Oh man, that was
You
brilliant.
did a thing at the O2.
Such a good
Isn't that
concert.
cool?
Concert, such a good.
Good
and
concert.
Do you know, this week, guess who was at the O2 Indigo?
Elvis.
Close. The Elvis of our day. I'm massively exaggerating. He's not the Elvis.
The Elvis of our day.
He's not the Elvis of our day. I just said
Maybe
that.
the Elvis of your day. The Elvis of my day is still Elvis.
It's not. It's not.
Okay, the Elvis of our day. Kanye.
No, close.
Okay, let's dig deeper. Ed Sheeran. Who?
No.
I'm sorry I even
Bigger.
mentioned him. Bigger than Ed.
Global.
I'm bigger than Ed. I don't know.
Justin Bieber.
Justin.
Justin Bieber was at
In
the
which
O2
part?
Indigo.
Not on the Indigo.
On the stage that you were on,
Not
preaching.
the Indigo.
Justin Bieber.
He was preaching.
He wasn't preaching. Well, he may have been. I don't know. But he dropped like a little one of those intimate gigs that they do before they launch their albums. And David Beckham was it. So it was on. David Beckham was on it. So it was on his Instagram stories.
Bieber and Beckham.
Yeah. Well, at the
Sounds
O2
like
Indigo.
That sounds like a good duo.
In the backstage room that he probably used. That's what Justin Bieber was.
I hope that they felt the impact.
He probably will.
I hope as they walked
Shekinah.
around, they just sensed something's happened here.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So that's about what youth culture.
Where I
We've got that
go.
out of the way. Youth
You know,
culture
I
was
liked
great.
it. People follow my wake.
Church plants. Have you been travelling? Have you been seeing any of our friends abroad?
Not this year, actually. I've not been overseas this year. I don't think.
Where have you been?
Good question. London.
Ah, okay.
London, yeah. So the guys in Emmanuel, London, in Greenwich and New Cross, and big shout out to those people.
We had Stu Gibbs on the show.
Yes. Yeah. So there you go. So I've been there a lot. That's where I've been most away to. Yeah.
Well, I've been visiting the plants. I've done Amsterdam, Berlin.
Yeah, you've been around.
Belfast,
Good for you.
Krakow.
Oh, done.
I've loved it. It's just so exciting.
Yep, toppling up the air miles.
Being with people who are on the same mission as we are. I was traveling because we were putting together our annual gift day
Yes.
for the Church Plants videos, which will be shown this Sunday. So
Excellent.
The video will be
it's gonna
dropped
gr-
this
I haven't
Sunday.
seen it yet.
No, you haven't.
So maybe it won't be shown this Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. I might look at it and think, no, you can't show that.
So we've got
It's got
it's
inappropriate things in it.
It's got inappropriately beautiful things in it,
Oh,
which
good.
the five want to see.
Yes.
So looking forward to hearing stories about people who are doing crazy things.
Yeah.
Selling up houses, businesses, leaving kids, old enough kids behind, and just going into different cities and saying we want to see Jesus
Amen.
glorified in these cities
Yeah,
and
yeah.
churches built. And just increasingly, it was quite fascinating. I think this is probably, just looking back at the video, I saw the video about 15 minutes before coming into the show.
Yes.
And it just reminded me of just that whole sense of family. When you walk into a church room, a church hall or church building or a venue in Berlin on a Sunday morning, and you feel like you're at home straight away.
Yeah.
And the way somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, are you the guy from Livelunch?" I was like, "Yes, you're one of the 5.
Wow.
Can I have a selfie with you?"
Excellent.
That was me, not her.
So did they do a special handshake?
No, they were just. I was in awe
Yeah.
more than them being in awe. I was like, "I have a friend."
Excellent. So you joined their cult.
Yeah, I did.
Good.
I think it's just being a part of a family is wonderful. And you go into like coffee shops in Krakow, and it's like being in a coffee shop in Brighton.
Yeah.
People looking the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
People with rainbow bags, and it was just remarkable. Like, wow, I'm in a city that I'm immediately comfortable because I'm used to this environment. I'm used to this sort of vibe.
The world
That's
that
lovely.
is getting smaller. Yeah.
Do you have any international travel planned?
I'm trying. Do you know, I'm fuzzy in my memory. I'm sure that there's some things planned.
We're going to France next month, aren't we?
Yeah. So there's some things that are in the diary, but I'm actually I'm the world's worst at knowing what's happening in the near future. So my diary has to be kind of, I have I know I'm going some places sometime soon. So that's about as much information as you'll get out of me.
Great. And then back home, we've had one of our sites, so the Marina site, the site that I go to, is now coming back into the new. What are your thoughts on that? Just tell us. You've done the bit up front on the camera to the masses. This is just you and me and the 5.
That's right.
And tell us, how are you feeling about this whole thing?
So we get
what are some of the things you can look forward
inside
to, pray
information.
about? Yeah.
Oh gosh, I think with multi-site we're still on a journey all the time, and we have to keep learning as we go. I wish I had a textbook kind of, or a kind of roadmap that would tell us exactly what to do when and how to make every decision exactly the right one. And I think we've been really helped by some very wise practitioners and spared some dumb decisions that we would have made, and I think mistakes we would have made. But we've got to make our own journey as well, and that means that occasionally we'll start things and then we'll say, oh, hold on, let's pull that back in and let's start it properly later, or let's start it over here instead. And I think that bringing a site back into the site that it was sent out of, and sending it out again later is probably the kind of thing we should be a little bit more used to and a bit more comfortable with and more ready for, because I think it's part of us living out the value that everything changes except the gospel. We've got to be ready to alter the methodologies, but never change the actual mission and the actual values. And so moving locations and changing situations, wineskins, if you like, those structures that are necessary, but they're not eternal. It's like scaffolding. You want to be able to put scaffolding up and put it down again in a hurry, because and I think sites, you've got to treat sites a little bit like that, although not being insensitive about the genuine change that brings about. And I think people in the marina site are just legends. They are
looking at one.
Yeah. So I mean, an amazing, genuinely superb, mature bunch who are just handling the transition superbly. So I'm really grateful, actually. I think we're in a good place. Long term, we need to restart sites, or we need to launch out again into the east part of the city. So we'll do that. But it's, I think, for the time being, to draw back in while we get the venue solution that we need and start properly out in the east again.
What's the thing you would say to the person who's moving from the marina side back to New England, saying this is the one exciting thing you've got to look forward to in this move back to New England?
I guess perhaps the main thing I'd say is your gifts, what you bring to the church, the part of the body the member of the body that you are, play that part wherever you are. You come right into the New England site and stay focused, stay pumping with your gifts, with the things that God's given you, the part God's given you to play, because we need every gift. We need it, and actually that's one of the things that's nice. I don't want to get because we're going to send people out again, but I've got to say it's nice. It's a nice prospect, because the people that are in the marina site and they're coming into the New England site are people with real gifting and
extraordinary people.
Extraordinary. I mean, real remarkable, magic people.
Yeah,
magical people. Some
people
of them
you couldn't even write up
everything.
about. They're just amazing.
Yeah, big long beards and pointy hats. Amazing people.
And sticks, wands and stuff.
Wands, that's right. Yeah. That's not true. I'm exaggerating, but they're excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm really, I'm thrilled. I'm encouraged. I would say just get right in, play your part. You're going to love it. Whoa! Just kick the microphone over. I could say more, but that would be the main thing.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. I think.
And we like you. New England site likes you.
It's just a fun bunch of people. We've loved being at the site for the past 18 months.
Yes.
To almost 2 years, and just love the people. They're such a good bunch of people.
Yeah.
Not saying anybody else isn't a good bunch of people, but they're just exceptionally good bunch of people. And I don't think they're just going to serve New England by coming back in. I think they'll impact the whole church in their presence in New England, and just seeing strong men and women come alongside. And
that's it.
It's good. Be brilliant. Wow, we've already halfway in, and we haven't even touched on the preach. I love this preach, and I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the preach, listen to the preach. It's very, very encouraging. Personally, I felt uplifted as I listened to it again this morning, and just it's spoken to multiple situations that are ongoing in my life, and it's so fascinating. You know how you said for some people who would actually be literally in jail. You did kind of maybe as a joke or as a throwaway comment, but last week my dad's who is in India and involved with a church planting movement in India, and they go into rural areas and villages, and he sent me a picture of him with these 11 or 12 guys, saying these are 11 or 12 pastors from a village in in India, some rural village in India, who've been in jail for 11 years because they were wrongly accused of inciting religious riots. And only 2 months ago, they were released.
Oh my goodness.
It's extraordinary. So, I mean, in the West, we're so far detached from being wrongfully imprisoned. But in other parts, our Christian brothers and sisters who are probably some of them still in jail for reasons which we will never understand. And so I sent my mum and dad the link saying
we need to know this stuff, don't we? We're just out of touch. That's the real church out there in India. Yeah, we're just like the bubbles on the surface compared to those people. Amazing.
Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, you go on.
So I guess
no, you go on.
So some questions that we would have. You spoke about if we park the whole people being in literal jail, because we're praying for those men and women and God bless them, and obviously we want them we want justice, but we also want God's peace in that situation and the deep knowledge. So like Bonhoeffer, and he was in jail for a long period of time, wrote his book, and so much good that can come out of what we think are horrible situations. But as you said, we our criteria for judging what's good and bad and what's valuable and not so valuable is probably very different from God's criteria. And when we get to heaven, we'll be blown away by the honor that certain men and women receive. I loved it. It's so good. Anyway, so going back in, so me who's not, quite detached from the whole being in jail situation, sometimes you could feel like you've got godly prayers that or godly hopes or godly ambition, even if it's for your neighbors to be saved or family members, loved ones to be healed, and just feeling like it's not happening. I expected God to do these things, and I expected to see His kingdom come in this way, but it's not happened. And you said like very much keep looking to Jesus and keep looking to the knowledge that He went into a much darker, deeper dungeon than you're in at the moment. What would you say to people? How really should you? What seems like, hey, but this should be a godly prayer. This should be godly ambition, and yet it's not being fulfilled. I feel like I'm in a bad place. What would you say to them?
I suppose the comment that Jesus makes is in that story when he's talking about John's question in prison is. Blessed are those who are not offended by me. And I think that suffering, especially suffering that is unjust, when you've so it looks like a sort of it looks like a random chance unfair outcome that's hurt you badly, and it therefore seems that you've been let down. I think that's an opportunity for a deep sense of offence, and a sense that that being offended, that being hurt, being dealt a bad hand, whatever, can become the final authority in our lives. It becomes the sort of sovereign, the overriding reality is I've been offended, and we're used to the concept of people taking easy offence in our culture, and it gets talked about quite often in a kind of very sensitive context of identity politics and people taking offence at comments and responding in an angry way, maybe on social media, lots of kind of shaming and attacking and so on, lots of kind of virtue signalling, which is built around the idea of I'm offended by X, Y, and Z. But that mustn't. That's true. That's a there is a lot of stupid offence taking, no question. There's also genuine, more legit reasons for people to be deeply perplexed and just offended, and to the point where I don't know whether you're really the one that you say you are, Jesus. Are you the one that we should be trusting, or should we really look for somebody else? And I think the answer to the question can't be any. There's no better answer than to see Jesus more truly, and to have our understanding kind of reshaped completely by the reality of Jesus' real goodness and love towards us. And we need that. We need so much to be more gripped by that, more grasped by that than we are by our...
How do you go about doing that? How do you get more gripped and grasped with the reality that Jesus is Lord?
I think it is, it's the standard things. It's time with him, time thanking him, remembering what he's done, time reflecting on who he is, looking at Scripture, but hungrily looking at Scripture, saying, God, please open my eyes to see your goodness, and to see your goodness in such a way that I'm set free from my perspective, and I see a true perspective. And it's time. I think it's intention of the heart. It's saying, God, I want to have my eyes open. I want revelation of this. I think practically that's essential. I think it's making time. If ever we feel like there's an offence coming into our heart, which we often do, this is no theory, is it? This is very practical reality. I could say that for myself. The temptation to take offence and be offended with God. I guess I need to take that to a brother quickly. Take it to a brother or a sister. Take it to someone, and just be honest, and ultimately take it to Jesus, which is what John does. So John effectively models it for us. He gets the message. He gets the question to Jesus. That this is what I'm thinking. I don't know if you are who I thought you were, and I need to know. That's a good example. If John did that, then I can. I can say, God, I don't get this, and bring it to him. And so much prayer in the Bible is shaped like that. It's the psalmist saying, how long, O Lord? Why will you leave me forever? Crying out of a sense of desolation, but bringing oneself round to a place of confidence. And that's absolutely the right way to go with it.
I guess the other question would be, if you're in that situation where whoever that jail-like situation looks for you it seems to be a long drawn-out thing, and it's not something that has an answer immediately. At what point do you... Sometimes we could cop out and say, I think it's God's will for me to be in this situation. And there's... So do I just rest in it? Do I just stop and just worship God and neglect the situation that I'm in? Or do I really need to press through in prayer in this situation and just battle this out in prayer? Do you have any tips on how do you make the decision? Do you get my question?
I do, yeah. I think it's a mystery in the sense that there's no textbook answer to that. I think we learn it by doing it. We learn the answer by bringing it to God. You see, like I say, you see that with John. You see him bringing his complaint. And the Bible has way more in it in terms of bringing our complaint to the Lord than probably most present-day Western Christians would be expecting, comfortable with, used to. We're probably a little more quickly satisfied with a sort of a bumper sticker answer, a fridge magnet answer, a kind of, God's working it all together for good, and that's of course that's not wrong, but I think we're invited to do more with it than simply to reassure ourselves with that. Yeah. We're invited to bring our lament, bring our complaint to him. That's an appropriate, and maybe in some cases we get to the point where it's like Paul finds in 2 Corinthians 12, the Lord says to him, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. And Paul feels like there's a point he's reached where God has specifically said to him, I'm not going to give you the answer you're looking for on this one. And so Paul seems to be saying, I've finished praying for that. I guess. He says, I prayed 3 times for the thorn to be taken. Maybe he carried on praying. Maybe he prayed a 4th time. Or if it doesn't say he's never going to again. But you feel like there's a certain kind of completion in it. He feels like... But here's the thing. I think whatever Paul has heard from God in terms of not praying anymore, he definitely didn't give up that easily. He came back a 2nd time, a 3rd time, and I'm sure that means he prayed earnestly. He gave a lot of time. And I guess that's probably the more likely challenge for people like me, and people in our kind of church, where we would think, well, I've prayed about it, and God didn't answer my prayer, so I'm assuming that nothing's going to change. Whereas I think Paul would be like, how did you pray about it? How many times? What was the way you prayed? And maybe there's like more persistence that would be worth giving to it.
As a church pastor, you probably you might find that one of the ways in which people take offense in church is people coming to the table with their agenda. So sometimes good agenda, saying, I really feel a burden for this. Why aren't you doing anything about this? Or I feel God's called me to preach or to lead worship or to have my own little ministry. And you've not acknowledged it, or you've not given me that space. How do you maneuver around these things whilst acknowledging actually there could be some amount of truth in those situations? Or how would you maneuver around people taking offense within church? And I guess indirectly they could be saying, yes, I'm offended with you, but maybe I'm also offended with Jesus. And why hasn't he allowed this to happen?
Yeah.
Why hasn't he allowed my ministry or the thing that I really seem to care about happen fruitfully?
I guess there may be a way of seeing beneath the surface and seeing this person's not offended with me, they're offended with God, and then it's a different kind of issue. It's that there needs to be some changing of perspective and maybe some repentance of like, I've seen you all wrong, I've misunderstood you, and I've brought you down to my level, Lord, and I'm sorry. And there can be some heart work that needs to be done in some cases like that. I think in reality, many people who are unnecessarily offended because they feel limited or shut down, or they feel what's in their heart is being ignored or by people in the church. There's all kinds of things might be going on. Maybe, in fact, they haven't been shut down. It may be that the issue is that they're waiting for the church to do something that they should do themselves. There's no one stopping them. So some might say, well, I'm offended that the church isn't doing X. And the answer sometimes is, well, you better do it then. There's no one stopping you. You just do it. Then the church will be doing X because you're part of the church. And that's a legit response very often. But when it goes down deep into a sense of, why am I not being recognized? I think there's often a need for people to just look more carefully at what's going on under the surface there. What is the emotion that's involved? Maybe there's a kind of a sense of being ignored, a sense of just being not taken seriously, maybe a sense of loss, maybe a sense of things being that they felt entitled to. I think you can grow up thinking that you're going to get to do amazing things, and when you don't do those amazing things, what you can feel overwhelmingly is a sense of having been overlooked and let down, and you don't quite realize it at first. And some of the anger that you feel, you've not processed it enough to realize, the reason I'm angry is that it's not really their fault. It's not I'm angry and I'm really angry with so-and-so. You stop and turn it around and look at yourself and think, no, I'm not angry with them. I'm deeply disappointed. And I need to say, God, you're enough for me. And knowing you and being close to you has got to become my sufficiency. And I've got to trust you. I've got to trust in your wisdom and your timing and your ways to bring me to fruitfulness. And sometimes, looking back for me personally, I've been surprised how much I've built a sense of entitlement, and I've had to sort of stop and say, where did that come from? Why did I assume that I would get to do and be all these things? Where did that come from? And I've had to say, God, I'm sorry. This isn't mine to have. I need to be just your God, and I'm your creature. I trust you, and it's actually very releasing in the end. It sounds a little dark when you feel like I'm being limited, humbled, and brought down. It's nothing dark about it. It's wonderful because it's God's way of giving you what's truly valuable, which is much better than what we sometimes think will be so fulfilling in ministry. Yeah.
It's him, isn't it? It's just the gift of him.
Yeah. And I think God's determined to help us learn that. And I don't mean that he doesn't inspire us with good ambition. That's a big thing, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, on another occasion. That's just as good a desire, but it can obviously become an idol as well.
I guess in closing, if somebody's just watching this saying, I'm offended about something, or I'm grieving about something, I'm upset, I feel like I'm in jail, what would you as their pastor tell them?
All of the above. I think.
Watch the preach. Watch this video all over again.
Well, I would say, I guess one of the things that one of the verses that keeps coming back to me for years, has done for years, and recently again, is in Jeremiah chapter 2, where God says, "Have I been to you a desert?" He says that to his people. "Have I been to you a wilderness?" And I find that a very powerful verse, because it's God's poking, prodding, probing our expectations of life, saying, what do you think of me? Do you really think that? Am I disappointing to you? Am I a desert to you? Are you disappointed with me? I think the key thing is that God does take us through deserts. He does. He deliberately, that's just all over the Bible. I'm not going to really get to know God unless I let him take me through the desert. That's going to happen. But my problem is that I often, in the journey through the desert, I start to equate him with the desert because it takes so long to go through it. I start thinking, oh, that's what God is. He's the desert. And it's the key thing is to distinguish the things. Whatever God brings you through is not the same thing as God. He might take you through a time where you feel desolate, you feel forgotten, you feel abandoned. These things are the opposite of God. He's not going to abandon you. He's not dishonoring you. He doesn't forget you. That's exactly the opposite of what he does, because Christ himself was abandoned and in that sense forgotten. And so I think watch for the way that the desert lies to you. The wilderness is a place of lies. Like we know from how Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, you get a lot of lies, and they're very powerful. We wouldn't be warned about them if they weren't convincing, and they're very convincing, but they're still lies. So we need to make up our minds about is he a desert, or is he the one about whom it says, "At your right hand are pleasures forevermore"? And I've got to settle in my heart. Does he mean to please and bless me, or does he mean to starve me? And we've got to decide that. We've got to just, in our heart, decide, I know what he's like. I know he's good, and be persuaded of it.
Brilliant. Wow. What a great close to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you back.
Good to be here.
Carry on with our paradox series, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
See you.